I'm pleased to tell you that Toronto is ready. Welcome this overflow crowd to an evening in which we are here to express our solidarity with our brethren in the State of Israel. I would ask you just to fix your eyes on the screen for a special introductory video.
Israel says it's simple. End the rocket fire from Gaza or Hamas targets will continue to be hit.
Sunday morning, the Israeli Air Force dropped leaflets instructing Gaza residents to evacuate before midday or risk their own safety, as seen in this video released by the Israel Defense Forces. The IDF says it has launched more than 1,100 strikes in the past week in response to 800 rockets fired at Israel.
Israel has a right to defend itself, and it is important for Hamas not to be provoking and purposefully try to play politics in order to gain greater followers for its opposition and use the innocent lives of civilians who they hide in buildings and use as shields and put in danger.
Israel has named this Operation Protective Edge, intended, it says, to restore normal life to those in the south of the country who've been advised to stay near rocket shelters.
We're under heavy attack today in Israel. It's code red right now, and that's crazy. You can see the Iron Dome firing up. Yeah, that's the Iron Dome. The second missile. You can see them flying. That's crazy, guys. That's like the third one today. Here you can see blasted 2 missiles.
Sirens sounded and the cafe cleared as people headed to shelters. This time, sirens sounded during a wedding ceremony. The bride and groom and their guests ran for cover.
Israel's political leaders have said they're preparing for a long operation. The call-up of 40,000 reservist soldiers has now been approved.
מדינת ישראל נמצאת בעיצומה של מערכה להשבת השקט והביטחון לאזרחינו. לא נסבול ירי טילים על ערינו ועל יישובינו. ולכן הוריתי על הרחבה משמעותית של פעולת צה"ל נגד מחבלי החמאס ונגד המחבלים של שאר ארגוני הטרור ברצועת עזה.
The de-escalation plan proposed by Egypt was initially supported by the Israeli government, but rejected by Hamas militants who continued firing rockets.
Hamas posted a video said to show its rockets being launched towards southern Israel, bringing the total to more than 1,100 in the fighting. And now, the first Israeli fatality, a civilian man in his 30s was pronounced dead at a hospital in Ashkelon. Police say he was delivering food to soldiers near the Gaza border when he was hit by a mortar. After halting fire for 6 hours, Israel's military resumed its bombardment of Gaza because the Israeli military says Hamas fired about 125 rockets when the truce was to have begun. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Hamas will pay the price for the continued fire.
If Hamas rejects the Egyptian proposal and the rocket fire from Gaza does not cease, and that appears to be the case now, we are prepared to continue and intensify our operation to protect our people.
I'll ask you all now to please rise for the singing of O Canada by the Khmer Choir led by Cantor Daniel Donald. We are heartened and overwhelmed by the outpouring tonight as we gather here today to express our solidarity with our brethren in Israel, to at the same time also lament the loss of life, and to express our strong yearning for peace, for our people, for all peoples. We are heartened also by the presence tonight, and later be introduced, of the Liberal Foreign Affairs critic, Marc Garneau, MP for Westmount Ville-Marie, and the Foreign Affairs Minister, the Honorable John Baird, MP for Ottawa West Carleton, Stephen Kimball, Chair of the Jewish Federation of Ottawa, and we also honor the presence of Bob Zimmer, Conservative MP for Prince George and Peace River. We are trying to coordinate with Toronto. As you can see, it may be a little bit of a trick. The Federation here, together with the Jewish Federation of Toronto, and our national advocacy partner, CJ. There will be parts of Toronto that will be live streamed to here, and portions from here that will be live streamed to Toronto. The timing may not be perfect. As a matter of fact, it already has not been perfect. And there will be small glitches, but I hope that in the end you will understand that we're trying our best. We have heard voices talking about the right of Israel to defend itself. I would like to suggest to you that it goes a lot further than that. I would say that it's the responsibility of any responsible government to defend its citizens. It's more than just a right. Any nation that would do anything less to defend against the onslaught of missiles, which renders its entire population vulnerable and therefore not able to live normally, would be totally irresponsible. It's not a question of rights only, it's a question of what does a responsible government do. Israel's is a quite responsible government, a very responsible government, which cares for every single life, as you will see tonight. And over the course of time, you've heard some interesting things about injuries and deaths. Let's be very clear. There are certain deaths that have taken place that have not even been reported. We don't count the individuals who died from heart attacks because in their old age they couldn't handle the sirens and the speed with which they had to react. And those are not inconsiderable numbers. Magen David Adom tells us that they have already treated 269, of which 24 of them are for shrapnel wounds. And unfortunately, we suffered a death. And there have been deaths on the other side that try as Israel wanted to avoid and could not. We are not responsible for that. The people who put those individuals on the front line are the ones that are responsible for that. And that has been made very clear. We realize that Israel is in tough. But I'd like to read to you a statement that was made by a taxi driver in Gaza. His name is Abu Ali. He writes, and I'm quoting you directly, "Everyone here in Gaza hates Hamas, but they're too afraid to say so publicly. Our food comes from Israel, but what we give them in return is rockets. Rockets that don't even make little holes in the ground. I wish that were right. But they get it. There are people that get it. And if there's any evidence you need that it's an entire population that has been terrorized, not only the Israeli but also the Gazan population, that statement tells it all. So here we are tonight to say very clearly to Israel, we are with you, we stand with you, we will do whatever it is to convey that message spiritually, emotionally, tangibly, materially, psychologically, in whatever way that we need to convey that message, because we love you all, we realize the precarious situation that you are in, surrounded as you are by rockets on all sides that threaten you, and yet still standing steadfast. I know that around this time, and I don't know where Toronto is yet, but we are on the way now to hand this over to Julie Krashitsky, who is chairing the Toronto portion, to introduce Ambassador Rafael Barak.
Represent us at the federal, provincial, and municipal levels of government. We are joined by some today, and I would like to take a moment to recognize them. MP Mark Adler, MP Judy Sproul, MPP Mike Cole, MPP Gila Martow, Toronto's Councillor James Pasternak, Markham Councillor Howard Shore, Toronto Councillor Karen Stills. Also in the audience are candidates for federal and municipal elections. Last, we do apologize if we have missed any of our elected friends. We would also like to recognize Furlis, Senior Vice Chairman of UPA Federation of Greater Toronto, Daryl Nadler, Co-Chair of the Toronto Partnership Committee, Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, Rabbi Bora Friedman Cole, Senior Rabbi of Beth Tzedek Congregation, Ted Sokolsky, President and CEO of UJA Federation of Greater Toronto, and Linda Kislowitz, Chief Executive Officer of Jewish Federation of Canada, UIA. And now we welcome our friends from the Jewish Federation of Ottawa to this portion of tonight's program via Skype. Honor to introduce Israel's Ambassador to Canada, Rafael Barak, with a message from the government of Israel.
Good evening, Minister Bird, a member of Parliament, Mark Arnaud in Ottawa, members of Parliament, members of the Ontario Legislature, Rabbi Spurgeon, friends of all faiths, my dear friend, the Consul General of Israel, DJ Schneeberg, members of this great community, the Jewish community in Canada. Drawing upon a theme from one of the icons of Western literature, Charles Dickens, let me tell you a tale of two spirits. One is Israel, a liberal democracy. The other is Gaza, controlled by Hamas, a terrorist organization. One is an island of stability. The other is part of the sea of violence raging in the region. One used measured military actions to target terrorists and limit collateral damage. The other does everything in its power to kill as many civilians as possible. One used the Iron Dome missile system to protect its population. The other used their population to protect their missiles. One keeps their passage open to deliver food, power, medicine to the citizens of Gaza. The other denies them and Syrian fires across this, having a part of Gaza without electricity today. One celebrates the culture of life. The terrorists glorify the culture of death. This is our tale, this is our reality. For the past 9 days, over 1,300 rockets have rained over our cities and communities. 80% of our population has as little as 15 seconds between life and death. This is the equivalent of 28 million Canadians having to hide in shelters or worry about their children playing outside. 2 days ago, we listened to the international community's call for restraint. We agreed to Egypt's ceasefire in good faith. We wanted to restore daily life and held our fire for 6 hours. Yet, the rockets continue and the voices from Hamas get louder. No democracy can allow its citizens to face an onslaught of rockets or the kidnapping of its citizens. Above all else, a democracy has the moral duty to protect its population. Our objective remains the same. We have no territorial claims. We left Gaza in 2005. We uprooted all of our communities in Gaza, even our cemeteries. And in the humanitarian field, no military in the world has acted with such great care for civilian life as the Israel Defense Forces. The IDF conducts its operations in accordance with international law. We even innovated and invented a new tactic called knock-on roof to offer civilians warning to leave the sites used by terrorists. We are sending messages to the cell phones. We are trying to avoid casualties. But we remain committed to our objective in restoring harm. And let me tell you today, friends, this stops when the rockets go. In direct contradiction to our code of ethics, Hamas, a listed terrorist organization by Qatar and other Western organizations, deliberately embeds its military infrastructure deep into this population. Hamas commits a double war crime, uses its civilians to kill others. Since Hamas took over in 2006 to turn Gaza into a terrorist launching pad, it used its resources not for good, but for destruction, and smuggled rockets that came down the land control in Iran. Its tactics, its ideology are akin to other international terrorists, many of whom are also supported by Iran. Groups like Hezbollah to target Western Jewish communities in parts of the globe. 2 days from now, the Jewish community of Argentina, the Jewish people, the state of Israel will mark 20 years since the murder by Hezbollah of 85 people, Jews and non-Jews, at the AMIA, the Jewish Cultural Center in Buenos Aires. They target innocents, children going to play, and people going to learn. These past 9 days, again, the terrorists target our communities all over Israel. But they will not succeed in stopping our way of life. Hezbollah did not succeed, and Hamas did not succeed today. Tonight, as a proud representative of the state of Israel, I stand to say no more to this terrorist, no more to this terrorist. No more to those who are continuing targeting our civilians and our way of life. I look out and see the people of Canada, our real dear friends, standing by our side. I see the members of this great Jewish community here. I see Canadians of all faiths embracing Israel with all their hearts. Your prayers and contributions serve as a pillar of strength for all Israelis during this difficult time. In the past week, I heard strong voices of support from the Canadian government, men and women of conviction, leaders such as Prime Minister Harper and Minister Bell. I also also know the multi-party support for Israel, including the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada and other politicians who stand with us. On behalf of the government and the people of Israel, I am here to express my sincere and heartfelt gratitude and for this unwavering support. And I must say that 3 times. Merci Canada, thank you Canada, Laura Back Canada, Am Israel.
Ambassador Barak, on behalf of everyone here this evening, and on behalf of you, Federation of Greater Toronto and the Centre of Israel Jewish Affairs, we want to express to you our profound appreciation for being here in person to share the message from Israel direct, and we trust that you will convey your friends and colleagues in Israel about your dear and close friends here in this room and tell them what you've seen and felt and experienced. And thank you once again for being with us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to present live from Ottawa messages from 2 of Canada's political leaders, Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird and Liberal Foreign Affairs critic
Thank you very much, Julie, and please remember that the ambassador being in Toronto is our gift from Ottawa to you. We are pleased to welcome all our friends in Toronto and in Atlantic Canada. We should let you know that we invited representatives from all the federal political parties to join us tonight, and we're delighted, of course, with the presence of the great Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird and Liberal Foreign Affairs critic Mark Rano, who are involved. You have already heard how much we appreciate you being here and how much we appreciate you standing up for Israel. It's my great pleasure now to introduce Mark Garneau. We know him as an MP. I know him as the former Chancellor of Carleton University here in Ottawa. And before that, he was literally out of this world.
Good evening, dear friends. Chers amis, shalom. Thank you for inviting me to this rally in support of the people of Israel and for allowing me to say a few words. I'm happy to share the stage with John Baird because Canada's support for Israel is not partisan. It is based on a principled cause. Support for Israel should never become a political wedge issue. When the citizens of our country are threatened by terrorists, other countries must speak up. They must make every possible effort to bring that terrorism to an end in order to prevent the loss of innocent lives. In the 9 years since Israel withdrew from Gaza, and especially in the last 8 days, Israel's citizens have lived in constant fear from the barrage of rockets fired by Hamas. As we have seen, these rockets are now reaching further and further into Israel. So let me start by reiterating something that I, my leader, my colleague Erwin Kotler, and the Liberal Party have been saying for years. Hamas is a terrorist organization. It was the Liberal government in 2002 that put them, as well as Palestinian Islamic Jihad, on Canada's terrorist list. Something else that the Liberal government has been saying for years, and it was mentioned by the rabbi this evening, Israel has the right and indeed the duty to take all necessary measures in order to protect its citizens. That will never change. If Canada were similarly threatened, there would be only one acceptable response. Canadians would expect their government to defend and protect them. That is precisely what Israel is doing at the moment. So let me ask the question. How can Israel stop Hamas from firing rockets into Israel and threatening the lives of Israeli citizens? As an ex-military officer, I know the answer to that question. It's not complicated. You have to destroy that launch capability and cut off that rocket supply. There is no alternative. Otherwise, you're defenseless and the rockets will keep coming. For some to argue that you can't attack Hamas terrorists because of the risk of killing innocent Palestinian civilians is equivalent to saying you're not allowed to defend yourself and you'll just have to deal with those rockets. What country in the world would accept not being able to defend itself? Tragically, innocent people die in the process, and it is important to mourn them. They would be alive today if Hamas had not started firing rockets at Israel. And let's be clear, this is not a time for sophistry. Those Hamas rockets are fired for only one purpose: to kill and terrorize innocent people. Let's be clear about that. Say it again, Israel has the right and the duty to protect its citizens. At the same time, while this is going on, and until such time that Hamas ceases to fire rockets, international pressure, and that includes Canada, must continue to be brought to bear on Hamas by whatever means possible to accept a ceasefire. That's not easy, especially with a terrorist organization like Hamas, which has given every indication that it does not value human life, including the lives of its own people. But it has to be done. For a very brief moment, the possibility surfaced 2 days ago that a ceasefire might occur, but it was not to be. Consequently, the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, Justin Trudeau, issued the following statement yesterday, and I quote, "The Liberal Party of Canada strongly condemns Hamas's rejection of the Egyptian ceasefire proposal and its rocket attacks on civilians. Israel should be commended for having accepted the ceasefire proposal and demonstrating its commitment to peace. The Liberal Party of Canada and many of the international community, including the United States, the UN Security Council, and the Palestinian Authority, had urged a ceasefire that could have ended the tragic civilian loss of life in Gaza and the suffering of Israelis under terrorist attack. Israel has the right to defend itself and its people. Hamas is a terrorist organization and must cease its rocket attacks immediately." End of quote. Sadly, as we all know, since that statement was issued, an Israeli citizen and more Palestinians have been killed. Let me close by saying that I believe it's important for Canada to keep pushing by whatever means possible for a ceasefire. Great countries